I call this meeting of Sylvania City Council for February 20th, 2024 to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fry?
Here.
Mr. Hanson?
Here.
Mr. Hanem?
Here.
Mr. McCann?
Absent and excused.
Mr. Richardson?
Here.
Ms. Stout?
Here.
Mrs. Westfall?
Here.
6 members of City Council are present, therefore a quorum does exist. We welcome our guests here. The young lady is a student. What school are you with?
Notre Dame.
Very good. You're quite welcome here. You even came for the public hearing. So that's great. I invite all of us to join in our Pledge of Allegiance, this meeting led by Mr. Richardson. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Additions to the agenda, I would like to add as agenda item 16, an appointment to TMACOG's MPO, which stands for Metropolitan Planning Organization Policy Board. I'll give you more details when we get to it. That's TMACOG appointment. In case council chooses to do this after the committee report, there will be a 14B to refer an ordinance to the planning commission. And due to some continuing negotiations with the municipal court judge, we're going to pull agenda item 13 from the agenda tonight, which is the agreement for public defender services. We will continue operating the previous year's agreement until we come to agreement. Mr. Fry.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Members of City Council.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Hanem.
Yes, I'd like to schedule a zoning and annexation committee meeting on the City of Sylvania special event policy, which is really very good.
Okay, we'll make that 15A. And you want to, this is a committee meeting?
Yeah, just schedule it. I don't think it will be a long meeting.
All right, 15A. Other items from members of City Council. Hearing none. Chief Miller.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schroyer.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Shaw.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
And Ms. Binding.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Or is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So, second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda for this evening's meeting as amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and our agenda for this evening is approved. Agenda item 4 is approval of our council meeting minutes from our last meeting on February the 5th. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move adoption of the meeting minutes from the council meeting of February 5th, 2024 as submitted. Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve those meeting minutes as submitted. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and the meeting minutes are approved. Moving on to agenda item 5. We have a number of things from the service department tonight, and Mr. Shaw will be representing the service department on these items this evening. Agenda item 5 has to do with the Main Street reconstruction project. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, members of council. We have in front of you on this agenda item is our letter of interest process to select qualified construction management consultants on our Main Street project that's coming up this summer has been completed. We only received one letter of interest request. That was from American Structure Point. That outfit should look similar to you. They have provided us construction management services on Monroe and Silica as well as Monroe and Haroon. Very well versed in the ODOT construction management process and all the paperwork that goes with that. So We have gone into scope and fee and completed those scope and fee negotiations with Structure Point, and they have given us a proposal in the amount of $136,936 to complete the required scope of services.
That fits in with the budget for the project.
Within the budget for the project, both construction and construction administration are within budget.
All right, very good. Questions of Mr. Shaw? If not, you do have ordinance number 14, 2024 in your council packets. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will introduce by title only ordinance number 14, 2024. Accepting the proposal of American Structure Point, Inc. to provide construction management services for the Main Street reconstruction project, appropriating funds therefore in an amount not to exceed $136,936, and I will move passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 14, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 14, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. For our student here tonight, I referred to a particular member of council to read that ordinance. He is the chairman of the Streets Committee. This is a good time to say it because our chairman of the Utilities Committee is absent tonight, so I'm going to have to redistribute around the table who gets to read those. And there are 3 other members of that committee, so stand ready. Okay, on to agenda item 6, Eldon Ditch Watershed Improvements, phase 2.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is our second phase of work. It would be for projects 2 of 4 that came out of a hydraulic study that we did. Started in 2021, finished in early 2022. We had gotten grant funding for the first phase of that, which has been our work up at Veterans Memorial Field. 90% complete, have work to finish up in the spring. So we're moving on to do the next 2 projects in the schedule. This is phase 2. So to get some geographical perspective on where this one is at, this would be Fairview and Parkwood area as it ties into Monroe. We're going to start all the way downstream in the watershed and start working our way back up, putting in upsized drainage systems and everything that the study had called for. So the first step was to do engineering solicitations with this. This again required a letter of interest process. We had received 2 letters of interest from qualified consultants. And the most highly qualified that we determined was Fishbeck. Fishbeck did the original hydraulic study. They were the engineer of record on phase 1. They have intimate knowledge of how everything was put together, so it makes perfect sense to do them in phase 2. So they were selected. We did scope and fee negotiations with them. And they provided us a proposal in the amount of $106,110 to complete the engineering required for phase 2. So they are recommended that we'll be pulling from 2 different accounts. I think it's important to note that. One is a capital account and one is from our water account. Water main will be replaced on both of these roadways with the project. Be happy to entertain any questions.
Hearing none, there is in your council packets proposed ordinance 15, 2024, to hire Fishbeck to provide these professional engineering and surveying services. We'll go to Mr. Fry for this one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 15, 2024, and read by title only. Accepting the proposal of Fishbeck to provide professional engineering and surveying services for the Eldon Ditch Watershed Phase 2 project, appropriating funds therefore in the amount of $106,110. I move for passage of ordinance number 15, 2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 15, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 15, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Thank you. We're now up to agenda item 7, Eldon Ditch Phase 3. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Marching our way upstream is phase 3. Same thing with Fishbeck, went through the letter of interest process. Makes sense. These 2 projects are linked together. To give some geographical sense on where this one is at, this will pick up from where Parkwood ties into Maplewood, and we will pick it up across Erie Street. Very short section of Erie Street that takes us to Eldon to the east. So we're kind of dancing around Burnham Park. And then we actually go all the way up Eldon to where our outlet for the Phase 1 project is at. So that's a little bit past Trailway, grab some of Trailway as well. So same type of project. Water main replacement through there. Eldon has been especially problematic in the last 5 years, so this is timing well to replace the water main there while we're doing storm sewer work. One additional piece on this one that's a little bit different is behind Eldon Drive. When I say behind, that's to the west between Erie and Trailway. That's where Eldon Ditch exists. It's the only little open piece that's left. We're gonna look at infilling that and taking all of the drainage and moving it out to the roadway where it should be. This should alleviate some backyard issues that many of those residents have on the west side of Eldon, if that makes sense.
Are there any wetland issues?
No wetland issues that have been identified. So that's the proposal. They gave us one for Phase 3, $108,090 to complete the Phase 3 scope of work. Again, 2 capital accounts are listed, or 1 capital account and 1 water account is listed for the engineering piece of the project. Happy to entertain any other questions.
Perhaps you should explain why there is a separate Phase 3 if they're both happening concurrently.
Sure. So the goal is to design these together in tandem. So we'll kind of march do-si-do back and forth between Phase 2 and Phase 3. We'll construct them in 2 separate phases. The goal is to try to always go after OPWC funding. So if we have these separated out, we get better chances at trying to tie this together with something else to help us do that.
Very good, thank you. All right, if there's no other questions you have in your packets, it's agenda item 7B, proposed ordinance 16, 2024. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 16-2024, accepting the proposal of Fishbeck to provide professional engineering and surveying services for the Eldon Ditch Watershed Phase 3 project. Appropriating funds therefore in the amount of $108,090. I move for passage of ordinance number 16-2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 16, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 16, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. The student again, we have emergency measure in here. That means with a supermajority of 5 or more council members, they can pass it in one night instead of having 3 different council meetings to pass something. The vast majority of council business is done as an emergency measure and makes business far more efficient. We are now up to agenda item 8. Service Department continues to be, this is a busy time of the year, getting ready for construction projects this year. However, this one is about finishing up last year's construction project. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In front of you is a change order request. This is number 3 on our Monroe and Silica project. The amount of this change order is $157,642.49. It's a fairly large number. We're not usually accustomed to seeing that at City Council here in Sylvania, so I'd like to explain a little bit about some of this. This change order is targeted a lot of the quantity overruns on the project. So you'll notice some of the line items that are in the one particular page has quite a bit of additional concrete that's in there. We did make a change on the multi-use path that connects the bridge and wraps around the Northview parking lot. That was spec'd as asphalt. We did change that to concrete, mainly because of future maintenance that our streets department will do. It's easier for them to obviously work with equipment that's concrete in that space than asphalt paving and trucks and that type of matter. So there's a lot of additional items that are listed there. Some of it's related to retaining wall work. Most of it is concrete work. The goal with change order 3 was to capture as many of the overruns that we possibly could, with the goal of tracking down the road a future change order 4 that may have a couple of signal items, but mainly would be the quantity underruns. So we're kind of seeing this, for the most part, as change order 3 and a future change order 4 balance pretty well. So it may look a little ominous in front of you, but know that down the road, we've been balancing things out. We think it's going to come in pretty close to what it should. So
Mr. Shaw, it's my understanding we're gonna be within about 1%.
it should be within 1%.
Okay.
Yeah, on a $6 million job, which is tremendous.
That's it.
Very good.
All right, any questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, you have this in your packets as agenda item 8B, proposed ordinance 17, 2024, approving this change order number 3. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 17, 2024, and I'll read by title only. Authorizing the mayor and director of finance to approve change order number 3 to this city's agreement with Moser Construction for the Monroe Street and Silica Drive intersection improvement and Silica Drive bridge replacement project to reflect the cost of several new scope of work items, increasing the contract amount by $157,642.49. Appropriating funds therefore, and I would move passage as an emergency measure.
It's been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 17, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 17, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Okay, moving on to agenda item 9. First, I'll report that the city limits have not expanded to include Angola and Frankfurt roads. This is a joint project with Lucas County. That's the way Brent Road was done last year, as a joint project, and we do benefit from this. We are one of, perhaps the only municipality working with the Lucas County engineer to get this done. And it has benefits for the OPWC applications. There are bonus points for cooperation between political entities. So that's why this project includes roads outside the city limits. And because it includes Lucas County, Mr. Fry wishes to push back from the table to avoid the appearance of impropriety and conflict of interest. So I need a motion to allow that to happen.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. Let the clerk show that Mr. Fry has pushed back from the table and not participating in this discussion or voting. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and well said. We usually would not be able to get OPWC funding on our own for the roadways that are listed. We just don't have good traffic volumes on enough of those to stand alone and have our own application be successful. So our continuing partnership with Lucas County is on this as well. And by bundling the projects together that they have with ours, we're able to submit a successful OPWC application. So we're very fortunate to continue the relationship with them. Specific to what we're doing, the first 3 roads, Angola, Frankfurt, and McCord, are all in their jurisdiction. Just so you know, the McCord piece is actually Sylvania to Central, so very close to our limits, and you'll actually see a nice continuous piece on that. We're actually resurfacing ours this year. They will do theirs next year, so we'll have a nice stretch kind of running through the township as we go. So that's their piece. Ours is Silica Drive. That would be 1,200 feet north of Convent Boulevard, but for geographic, the first curve that you get to as you head north, we'll pick it up there, wrap it all the way around to the bridge, all of Summit Street, all the way to the Michigan state line. The 2 pieces that will need some coordination are the Maplewood and Erie pieces. Those are in our downtown footprint. We have a lot going on, especially in our downtown footprint in the next 2 years, so we'll have to kind of monitor those and see how it is. We certainly don't want to put new asphalt down if those are going to be coming up in any way with our downtown project. So we'll watch those as we go. But the engineering to do it will be coming at a future meeting. Some of the breakdowns are listed in the letter for how much the city portion of this is. It's mainly a county project, mostly a county project. So that's it. So the first step is always to do our joint co-op agreement with Lucas County. So we would recommend approval to move forward.
Questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, you do have in your council packets as agenda item 9B, ordinance number 18, 2024, to enter into this agreement. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to introduce ordinance number 18, 2024 by title only, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to enter into a joint cooperation agreement on behalf of this city of Sylvania with the Board of Lucas County Commissioners relative to the Angola, Frankfurt, McCord, Silica, and Summit resurfacing project, appropriating $395,944 for said project, and I would move passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 18, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 18, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. We are now on to agenda item 10, the second page of our agenda. However, I'd like the clerk to note that Mark Fry now rejoins us at the table. The next two items are for vehicle purchases, one for the water department, one for the sewer department. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our first one is out of the Water Department. As you mentioned, we are looking to purchase a 2024 Dodge Durango in the amount of $42,855. This one has a little bit of transfer that goes with it. The vehicle that this one is replacing is a 2010 Ford Explorer that can be repurposed in our administrative fleet, which we will do. So that will replace an existing 2005 Chevy Impala that we will put to Gov Deals once completed. So this will be our water foreman's vehicle in the water department moving forward.
All right. This vehicle is not from inside the city here. It's from Grogan Town in Toledo. I see the next one is from Dave White. That to me indicates that you did shop these vehicles.
That's correct.
Okay. I wanted council, I knew that, but I wanted council to be aware of that as well. As agenda item 10B, we have ordinance 19, 2024 to purchase this vehicle for the water department. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 19, 2024. And I would like to read by title only. Authorizing the mayor and director of finance to accept the proposal of Groganstown Chrysler for the purchase of one new 2024 Dodge Durango for the Department of Public Service, Water Division, appropriating funds therefore in the amount of $42,855. I move for passage of ordinance number 19, 2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 19, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 19, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. On to agenda item 11. This is also a vehicle purpose, this one for the sewer department. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is for the sewer department, as you noted, from Dave White Chevrolet. This one is a 2024 Chevy Silverado, larger size, a 2500 heavy-duty pickup. So this will not be a foreman vehicle. This is a service vehicle that's required in their department. It will be replacing an existing 2012 Ford F-150 pickup. That one is not being repurposed within our fleet administratively anywhere else, and that will be the Gov Deals when the new one comes in. We're paying for this one out of our sewer account, 702 account that's listed there. Be happy to entertain any questions on this vehicle.
It does appear that both deals represent about 5% or so off of the list prices. It's better than paying list price, which was going on the last year or two. Any questions for Mr. Shaw? All right, as agenda item 11B, we do have ordinance 20, 2024. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to introduce by title only ordinance number 20-2024, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to accept the proposal of Dave White Chevrolet for the purchase of one new 2024 Chevrolet Silverado 2500 HD pickup truck for the Department of Public Service Sewer Division. Appropriating funds therefore in the amount of $47,485. I move for passage of ordinance number 20-2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
Been
Been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 20, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 20, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Both of these vehicles were in the capital improvements budget and are within budget. Okay, we are now on to agenda item 12. Mr. Shaw, you down to your last item here.
Very good. We are resurfacing Bent Brook Road, Burgess Road, and Lynn Haven Drive this year as part of our capital improvement program. We're going to bundle this project together with the McCord Road project and sell them simultaneously, separate but still at the same time. Hopefully we can get some economy of scales in terms of mobilization. So that's the reason. This one was here, the McCord one was here, the meeting previous. So this takes care of these roads. The estimated construction cost is $258,915. Work will be performed while school is out. So it's written in the contract that we try to do these as best we can when school is away. So the construction will be anytime June through about mid-August on this project. So we would request to advertise for bids beginning on February 26th, which is next Monday. We'll have an opening at the March 18th date with a goal to have this back to council hopefully by April 1st for an award. Happy to entertain any questions.
Hearing none, we just need a motion authorizing the clerk of council to advertise for bids for this project. Mr. Richardson.
I'll make a motion that the administration be authorized to advertise for bids for the Bent Brook, Burgess Road, and Lynn Haven Drive resurfacing project.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and the clerk is authorized to advertise for bids. Mr. Shaw, thank you for all your work tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're up to agenda item 13, which has been withdrawn from tonight's agenda. So we are going to agenda item 14 for committee reports. There was a committee whole meeting held before council this evening at 6:30. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We held the committee of the whole meeting starting at 6:30 this evening. All members of council were present other than Mr. McCann, who was out due to illness. Also present were Mayor Stow, Mr. Shaw, Ms. Brining, Ms. Bigelow, Mr. Aller, and Chief Miller. So effectively, the conversation was about the potential change in various fees, the consolidation of relocating that from the codified ordinances so that people who wanted to utilize various services and get permits in the city were able to see in one spot what those charges would potentially be. Mr. Aller and Ms. Brining explained the location of those. Various members of council asked questions as to the specifics on some of the fees. Because of the nature that we were changing the zoning code, we had to go through a traditional zoning process. So after deliberation, council decided that it wanted to hold off on moving forward with legislation on the other fees until we could go through the traditional process for the zoning and then consider them all at once and making those modifications. So with that, Ms. Stow made a motion to ask the administration to have legislation for our meeting this evening for referral to the Planning Commission. Mr. Hanson seconded that motion, and the motion carried unanimously. And with that, do we need another motion, Ms.
We
Brown?
do. The law director worked very quickly and produced this ordinance for you yet this evening. It is ordinance number 26, 2024 for referral to the Planning Commission. We need a motion to do that. Mr. Hanem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we refer ordinance number 26-2024, amending Part 11 of the Planning and Zoning Code to the Planning Commission for their review and recommendation.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and that is referred to the Planning Commission. They will take it up at their March meeting, and perhaps the April meeting, though I suspect that won't be necessary. As part of this, to move the process along, the administration is proposing a public hearing for this to be scheduled on April the 1st. That's our first meeting in April. It is not, it is April Fool's Day, but that's not why we picked it. It is to keep the calendar moving ahead on this. It is not required, but it does move things along faster to set the public hearing date in advance of you hearing back from the Planning Commission. That's exactly what we did with the new wholesale bakery production facility down next to the Township Hall, and I recommend it for this one as well. So I would need a motion to set
Mr. Mayor, before
April
we-
1st.
We're gonna do a public hearing on all the fees. Right, okay, that's good, okay.
So, Mr. Mayor, I was thinking that half an hour would be more than sufficient.
Yeah.
I don't know that this is gonna be all that controversial. So I'll make a motion to set a public hearing.
Wood.
Fair enough. Agreed, Mr. Mayor. To set a public hearing for consolidation and modification of fees for zoning and other matters as discussed this evening in the Committee of the Whole at 7 PM on April the 1st, 2024 in council chambers.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to set that public hearing for Monday, April 1st at 7 PM. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and the clerk is instructed to provide advertising for that public hearing for all of the changes in rates and fees. Okay, agenda item, any further committee reports to be made at this time? Hearing none, we are down to agenda item 15, which is committee referrals. Mr. Hanem added 15A, special event policy to be reviewed by the zoning committee and wishes to schedule a zoning committee. Mr. Hanem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, of course, my computer makes me reboot. I'll leave it up. Few meetings ago, we were presented with a City of Sylvania special event policy, and we referred that to the Zoning and Annexation Committee, primarily for opportunity to review it. I've reviewed it. It looks like a fine policy to me. I had no issues with it. But we did refer to zoning and annexation. I don't know what final action we need on this. Will we need to adopt it?
Yes, there are some code sections that need to be amended, to comply with the proposed policy, so we just need to do that and then officially adopt it as well.
Okay, well, we'll have I think this could be a 15-minute meeting. We can do that before our next council meeting, I assume.
Before the photos.
The council portrait is scheduled for
6:45.
6:45. Probably won't take 45 minutes. You're a very photogenic group and probably will cooperate with getting assembled in the proper way. So you possibly could do it at 7:15, Mr. Hanem. If not, we'll just push the council meeting back a little bit.
Yeah, let's do that for 7:15. That's good. So I will move that we schedule a zoning and annexation committee meeting on the City of Sylvania special event policy for Monday, March 4th at 7:15 PM.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to schedule a zoning committee meeting to review the special event policy on Monday, March 4th at 7:15 PM in these council chambers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and the clerk is instructed to post that meeting. Any further committee referrals to be made at this time? Hearing none, we go down to added agenda item 16. Last week I got a telephone call from the new executive director of TMACOG, she's in the position of the former president. They have reorganized TMACOG. The new bylaws were passed at the annual meeting at the end of January. And as a part of that reorganization, TMACOG now has is a metropolitan planning organization and has a policy board. The policy board will appoint a technical advisory committee comparable to what used to be the transportation committee. And the city of Sylvania has a seat on that policy board. We need to have a elected official in that position, and I have asked Council President Mark Fry if he would like to serve in that position, and he has agreed. I think that's appropriate. There will be mayors and other presidents of council on that position, serving their seats on the TMACOG advisory or policy board, excuse me. And I think Mark would be just the right appointee to that. They will meet 4 times a year. And their main obligation is very important. It is the core function of TMACOG. They will allocate ODOT funding for projects within the Metropolitan Planning Organization boundaries, something that the Transportation Committee does now, but it'll be done by this new group. But it will go then to the Executive Committee, which I sit on, and the board of TMACOG for approval. So we're gonna get several shots at this, but we need to have strong representation at that, especially with 51% minimum of it being elected officials. We've been very successful at the grant program, as our meeting tonight and previous meetings show, and we need to continue to be at that table, no doubt about it. And we hope that Mr. Shaw will serve on the Technical Advisory Committee as well. You're still, or you were, chairman of the Transportation Committee,
Correct.
which no longer exists.
Correct.
You were ex-chair.
Correct.
Names are being changed, or the names of the appointments. As I said, Sandy Spang is not the president. She's the executive director of TMACOG now. It's a whole new ballgame. We're all getting used to it, but I want to stay with it and encourage our participation at all levels of TMACOG. This, I believe, is a mayor's appointment according to the law director. You do not need to vote to ratify it. You're welcome to do that. Would you be more comfortable if we did that, Mr. Fry?
Doesn't matter to me, Mayor, it's up to you.
I think it's a mayor's appointment, but it will be in the meeting minutes that I've made it. You're all aware of it. Okay. With that, we are at the end of our agenda items. There are copies of the meeting minutes from both the Board of Architectural Review, which were extensive, and the Municipal Planning Commission, which was not extensive, that took place on Valentine's Day last week, and Ash Wednesday. And if there are no further items of business for City Council, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and this council stands adjourned until its next regularly scheduled meeting, 13 days from today, on Monday, March 4th, 7:30 PM in these council chambers. And please recall that the council portrait is scheduled for 6:45 that evening. Thank you all.